sitting at the same old workplace. What's the point of this chase? To just bite our old tail. Wishing that something would change, that we could turn back the page and live like our favorite fairy tales. So a love so freeing, a world of our fantasies, flying on dragons through sky-high cities. These are childhood dreams, it's how we used to be, when we were kings and queens in our childhood dreams. Oh, 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 our childhood dreams. Feeling, I feel so lightweight when I think back to those days, but then we went our own ways. I'm thinking about what needs to change, that we could turn back the page and live like our favorite fairy tales. So a love so freeing, a world of our fantasy, digging up treasures and sailing across the sea. These are childhood dreams, it's how we used to be, when we were kings and queens in our childhood dreams. Oh, 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 our childhood dreams. Our childhood dreams, it's how it used to be, when we were kings and queens in our childhood dreams.
Every weekend is the same. I'm the one you try to claim. Yeah, I already know about your game, but I'm not the one to sit around and be played. Call me up with no shame. All your words sound the same. Yeah, already know about your game, but I'm not the one to sit around and be played. If you come around just to play me, don't bother, cause you're way overdue. Don't even try to convince me. Don't bother, cause now I see you through. want you to come over. I wish that you would come and give me something to prove. Won't you pull me closer? I think that I'm obsessed with
Hello, one and all, and welcome back to TTML Division 2. We're here for the second round of the Season 3 Championship here in Division 2 for the Bahrain Grand Prix. And to run you through the action tonight, I am Daniel Hoggar, going to be leading the way for Cobbs for you here tonight. And joining me alongside in the commentary box, who has been one of the voices of Division 2 for the last season now, it is Michael Edwards. Mike, how are you doing, fella?
I am doing great. Very excited to see these guys out on this circuit. Plenty of overtaking opportunities. Such a great track to race at.
Yeah, as you mentioned, probably one of the easiest tracks on the entire calendar to get overtakes done around. So you're going to be seeing a lot of great action here tonight. Of course, we've already went through one round of the season and a traditional season opener last time out in the Australian Grand Prix, of course. And of course, that round was some fantastic action out there on the track. And it ended up with the two Williams boys, XL Gary and XL Ryan, collecting a 1-2 for the race in front of IFR Caladri, whoever we want to say. I guess Caladri, that's what we're going for tonight, in third place. That was your podium. And Mike, what do you reckon? What do you expect here from these guys here tonight? Because the Williams boys, they were very, very dominant last week out. But I believe one of them, Ryan, is not going to be here tonight. So Gary's going to have to fly the flag for Williams. He's going to be joined alongside by LR McCrew. And so that Williams contingent will be broken up. But do you think that Gary could repeat that success from last week?
I think Gary has the capability to do a repeat performance here tonight. However, Bahrain is a very different circuit to Australia. So we'll see who is going to be able to adapt to the track and who's going to come out on top. I think Gary will be under pressure, though.
Yeah, I think he will be. He was under pressure throughout last week. He just about managed to control the race, but he certainly had a lot of competition, and there's going to be a lot of competition on our hands here tonight as well. As you mentioned, Bahrain, very different circuit. It's as for Australia, it's more of a flowing track where for many times throughout the lap, you're kind of sacrificing one corner to open up the next corner. Bahrain's very different. It's more about just attacking each individual corner and taking as much speed into it and as much aggression into it as you possibly can. So that difference in driving styles could see a different pecking order here. I think, Mike, what you're going to see from this week is we're going to get a bit of a picture in the early point of this season as to who the championship contenders are going to be heading into the later rounds of this championship.
Yeah, 100%. And to be honest, I'm interested in seeing how Jorg is going to bounce back, because he was looking very good at Australia, and then he had that mistake that dropped him into the midfield, and he was making his way back through, but he ran out of time and too many penalties dropped him back down, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right. He was battling with Gary. Gary just grabbed an undercut on him, just got the lead, and then he dropped it coming out the pit lane, I believe. And so he's going to look to try and fight back a bit stronger in this second round. So keep your eye out. So while Gary could have a repeat success on his hands, he is certainly going to have to fight for it. Currently, we do have 16 drivers ready. We're going to be getting into the race, I imagine, very, very shortly. And so we should have some great action out there on the track. Bahrain, in my experience, is always a fantastic race. But Are there any other drivers, Mike, that you could say may well be ones to watch throughout this field? You mentioned Jorg, but is there anyone else that could maybe do a bit more this week and try and challenge up near the front?
I think we can look at Scuba as one of those drivers that could get himself close to the front. Tijonis could also be another person in the Renault, and I believe he has just taken over the full-time seat in that Renault. So he's definitely one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, of course, he is going to be partnered with B. Morgan for the remainder of this season. Keep an eye for those boys as well. Of course, B. Morgan being promoted from Division 3. Made a decent account of himself, I'd say, last week. And so he's thrown himself right into the limelight. And also Scuba, that is certainly going to be a name we're going to have to be keeping our eyes on, of course. The Irishman, the semi-recently crowned TTML Sprint League champion, certainly has some pedigree, certainly has some ability to try and carry that forward into tonight. And so we do have a fascinating spectacle on our hands here. Of course, we all know the drill. As I'm just getting word to me now, actually, that the race is going to be slightly delayed by 5 minutes. So apologies for the inconvenience. We'll get round hopefully as soon as we can to the grid when it eventually comes through. Of course, we've talked to great length about the drivers' situation, but maybe more about the constructor standings, because of course Williams, after that stellar showing last time out, shot up into a convincing lead. But do you think that anyone can come back? I'm looking at those Red Bull guys in particular. They maybe didn't quite maximise their performances last week, either of them, I think. There's a lot of talent in that lineup, and I think they could be the main challengers to Williams throughout the rest of the season. Of course, it's very early days, but what are your thoughts, Mike?
Yeah, the Red Bull team definitely wants to keep our eyes on. Unfortunately for Gary, I mean, as you alluded to earlier, Ryan not being here, that's going to hinder the maximum amount of points that Williams can get. So, I mean, looking at the other constructors, you could see Ferrari gaining pretty decent on them. I know Volokongan usually has a bit of pace around here. Isotoptic as well could put in a good performance. Ace Noisy could be another one to keep an eye on, as he will be looking to be a lot closer to his teammate Jorg this time out.
Yeah, you can see as well just that the influx of drivers that could be able to make an impact. We are beginning to ready up in the lobby, so I suspect they will be finally getting things underway relatively shortly. Of course, you guys all know the drill by now. An 18-minute qualifying session, followed by a 50% 29-lap race around the Sakir International Circuit that we're about to get into. We are counting down at this minute to get into qualifying. So that is going to be highly, highly exciting. 17 drivers make up the grid today, and they're all going to tackle this track here for following 18 minutes. But now, as we get counted in, let's get prepared for the first action of the evening as we dive straight into qualifying. And so we are gathered here today at the Sakir International Circuit for the Bahrain Grand Prix. That is round 2 of the Season 3 of TTML Division 2. And of course, this track offers 3 different car compounds then. C2, C3 and C4, the middle 3 compounds on offer tonight. And that soft compound, the C4, is going to be the main tire of choice, I imagine, for the drivers here in qualifying. Of course, this track is characterised by its spectacular night setting with the floodlights illuminating the circuit, a circuit that is 5.4 kilometers in length, featuring 15 corners, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, 3 DRS zones as well, heading into turn 1, turn 4 and turn 11 further down the road, making this probably one of the easiest circuits on the entire calendar to make overtaking. And that's certainly one thing you're going to be keeping your eye on here tonight, is all that massive overtaking opportunities for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Let's get into it. First off, into qualifying. And so 17 drivers here tonight. And I'd say, Mike, this is probably one of the least significant polls on the season because, of course, of how easy it is to overtake in the race and how powerful DRS could be. But these drivers still want to make a statement here. Being the fastest driver in quali has its physical benefits as well as its mental benefits. So we'll see who's going to wrap up, try and get up to the front of the grid. and try and hold on for the rest of the race. Qualifying is so crucial anyway, but let's get it started, Mike.
Yep, and both of the Williams cars straight out onto the track. Gary ahead of McCrew, who will be alongside him for tonight. Not entirely sure what to expect for pole position. I can imagine you have a slightly better understanding of what's a fantastic pole lap around here.
Certainly I was looking at the times from Division 1, and you've seen the top drivers getting in, I'd say getting into the lowish 24s. I think that's the kind of lap times that you could expect from today. Certainly the top drivers will be looking to get well into those 24s. You should see the standings there on the left-hand side of the screen just going down now, but you will have also been able to clock. It's just the same order as you would have seen in the race results. So Gary heading up XL, Ryan, his teammate then heading through this event, and of course Gary is going to be the first driver out on track. You're going to get a good sense as to what makes a good lap time around this track. Then so XL Gary coming around, and we'll see what he's able to muster up here, the Irishman heading down tonight. Let's see what he can pull off. We're going to track him around this first flying lap of the Skier International Circuit. So XL Gary now out of the last corner, powering through. He's on the soft tyres, so he's got them selected then. He's going to look to get as much lap time as he can. DRS is open now, coming up to the line, heading through now into the first corner. Heavy braking zone there, about the 100 metre board down into second gear, then up to third, short shifting, try and get traction, going through turn 2, opening up through turn 3, and again the DRS open for the second time on the lap, heading into the rest of the first sector. You're onto the brakes yet again, trying to use as much of the track on the entry and the exit through turn 4, all about maximise the apex speed, in particular here, going through turn 6 and 7. He's a little bit wide of the apex there, as Gary still carrying good apex speed. Then you're on the brakes yet again, in a stop-start fashion through this middle point of the lap, heading out of turn 8 now, difficult traction, so now you're preparing for probably the most difficult corner on the entire lap, the downhill braking zone in a turn 10. Nice though from Gary, managing to avoid lockups, get back onto that throttle pedal, and now you're preparing yourself for the latter part of the lap. Turn 11, it's all very high speed from here on out then. Opening up, keeps it to fourth gear, then up to fifth, through the exit of the corner. Now sweeping into turn 12, don't hit that curb on the inside, it's nice and flat out otherwise. Then you're running it through turn 13, getting it onto the outside curb then, and now powering down. Now you can see getting up into 8th gear, high speed then, coming to the end of the lap then, going up to the curb on the outside to open up turns 14 and the traction zone as a kick of 15. Now to the line, XL Gary is going to open up the session with a 1:25.1 to kick off the session. I mentioned the top drivers can get into the 24s. It's early days, but that's a good lap from Gary, and his teammate going in just about 2 tenths behind him, mate.
Yeah, a great lap there from Gary. McCrew was actually purple in that middle sector, and a man who is doing well at the moment, Ace Noisy, is currently purple in the middle sector as well, just beating out McCrew's time, and could be another guy up there.
Let's see what he can do then. I think he has it's just about backed off his little DRS, but he does go into second place and just a few hundred shy of the top time. As the topping already improving as well, and so you're seeing an influx of lap times coming in at the early point in this session. Corboy, who had a tough time of it, he's on the medium tires, interestingly enough, heading throughout the conclusion to his lap. The Mercedes opening up that rear wing and predictably goes to the bottom. Of course, he'll be looking to get more out of those tires. And it's interesting to see him going for the mediums as Jorg goes to the top then. So Jorg powering clear at a 1:25.0. And do you think he can maybe be a repeat pole position then? A 1:25 flat, that's the quickest of the first runs so far. Jorg, very impressive. Do you think anyone else can stop it on this opening phase of the qualifying?
Still very early doors here in qualifying. We're seeing a few guys out there on the medium compound tyres, Cowboy, Sway and Scuba, so it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do when they chuck on the soft compound tyres.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more potential, I imagine, going on those grippier tyres. We're going to watch a medium lap though. This is from Scuba, who had a solid enough showing, was fit for the podium last time out in Australia, and we'll be looking for even better fortunes, I imagine, here tonight in Bahrain. But of course, on those mediums, he's going to really struggle to get much lap time out of it then, as he flies it through, going through turn 6 and 7, running up onto the curb, heading through the exit now. And you can see again, looking for that throttle pedal getting himself onto the exit of the corner. And then again, you know, this track in general is just such a difficult one for the brakes. It's so hard to nail those braking zones and apply the right input throughout then. So we're watching Scuba then, a little bit of an example as how to navigate this rather difficult race circuit. And currently Scuba, his first sector was a little ways off the pace, about 6/10 off the top times that we've been seeing. So obviously a little bit less grip there, but we can compare it to Coreboy's time, that 126.6 at the bottom of the timesheets as it stands. We're heading now firmly into the final part of this qualify, or the second part I should say, the end of the first runs here at Quali. 18 minutes of course of the session. Now Scuba comes up to the line and he does go quicker than Coreboy just about, but you see the compound gap then. Scuba and Coreboy, with the rest of the field so close, are nowhere near. There's a massive gap between the softs and the mediums. I suspect that pretty much you're going to be seeing pretty much almost the entire grid opting for that softest compound towards the end of this quali session.
Yeah, and I'm just on board with the Alpha Tauri of LMN there, using a bit of slipstream there from B Morgan down the DRS straight as he comes through the second sector right now. And he just takes a little bit too much of the inside curb and invalidates it.
That's a real shame. He actually set the fastest middle sector of anyone on a 136.4. So you can see the kind of potential that the AlphaTauri driver has to offer, but he hasn't quite been able to pull it off just yet. I think we're in a bit of a quiet stage in the session right now. A couple of drivers on outlaps at the moment. I think the furthest along, I think it's ASC Alonso actually, who had a bit of a trying session last time out. Not the easiest time of things going through it. Actually, no, I've just clocked. B Morgan, I believe, is on a flying lap, heading into turn 4 now. So he's in that first sector. We'll see what the Renault can pull off then. Heading now, going through that middle sector, take us to the rest of the lap, Mike, and see what the Renault can do. Can he get high up the grid here?
As he comes downhill into the braking zone, taking a lovely line through 8, and now up the hill to psych himself up for turns 9 and 10, keeping it tight, trying not to drift out too wide. Yes, a good line through 10. DRS wide open now on the run down to turn 11. And braking just before the 50-meter board. Bit of a lock up there on entry. Shouldn't have cost him too much time though as we go up the hill through turn 12. Getting very close to the curb, but not running on the curb. It is purple in sector 2 for me as we go through turns 13. Now flat out down towards the final 2 corners. 100-meter board down into 3rd gear. Short shift into the 4th. And to the line he'll come, opening DRS. And what's this going to be for the Renault? It's going to be a 25.4.
Yeah, not a bad lap actually from B Morgan. It's mainly the first sector that you lost a lot of his time then to the rest of the drivers. So that's a bit of potential for him to try and improve throughout the latter point of the session. I think the next driver to complete a lap is going to be ASC Alonso, Mike. Indeed. So we'll watch the Haas driver going throughout that middle sector now. Did a 27.6 in the first sector, has a 36.4 in the middle sector. Bit of an oversteer though coming off of turn 13. Trying to gather that car back up then to continue that fight. Going now into turns 14 and 15. Apply that throttle on the exit again. Big oversteer. Opens up the DRS. Powering to the line. And he goes into 6th place there, Alonso. Much better showing from him. He's now on a 125.3, right in the mix, but it's still Jorg that holds the top spot on the timesheets. But I suspect we have a lot more lap times to come in from some very high quality drivers in the last 8 minutes here in qualifying.
Yep, and considering the fact that Alonso lost the back end twice there from what we've just seen, and he's put up there in 6th, there's definitely a lot of time out there that he can gain. Wouldn't be surprised to, it's Chris there, first man in the 24s, what a lap.
Yeah, Chris going right up to the top then, and we saw, I'm actually just looking at the chat then, Matt Tebos, who was a driver of course in the last round, he is predicted that these guys can get into what likes of a 24.4. So there's a lot more potential in the track, a lot more potential in the drivers. And I'm currently watching XL Gary know the big hitting potential that he has but he is just a shade off the pace at the moment. Can he pull a bit more out of this last sector? There's a chance he can get a pole position. He did improve in the middle sector. Now, coming up to the line, I think his teammate McCrew is going to just put it in third place, so William strong again, but Gary to the line goes fastest by a tiny margin, 200th of a second in it, but Exile Gary at the top then, so the Irishman goes right up to the high end of the standings here in qualifying, but there's still a lot of lap times to come in there, Mike. Gary on top, and I'm watching TTG Noisy, who's bailed out on the lap, then going to the pit lane. And so Noisy has gone out of that one, and Lonzo went behind as well. So I think the next driver to cross the line is going to be York then, in the Alfa Romeo. And so Gary's just got about a tenth of a second to find. Can he pull it out then? Going throughout the final corner. The first and middle sectors were both excellent. He is on for pole position. If he can just pull this together to the line, York Smith is on pole. 124.8. And then it's just over a tenth of a second clear. I think that was Caladri going up into 5th place. So the improvements coming in thick and fast. That's midpoint of the session. But York on that provisional pole position. But can he hold on to it? And now he's the topping improving to 4th. Then it's a frantic midpoint of the session here.
Yep, all the times are improving right now. We're starting to get some very close times here in qualifying, especially from 5th down, well, pretty much from 1st all the way down into 13th right now, only separated by just over half a second. But it just shows that 1/10 can get you a couple of positions here.
Yeah, the margins, as we've become accustomed to, I imagine, here in Division 2, so tiny here at the Bahrain International Circuit. That is part of the thrill of driving and racing around this track. I'm trying to find someone that is actively on a flying lap at the moment. I think there's a couple of drivers just gearing up for it. I think LMN has just started a flyer there for AlphaTauri. We'll keep an eye out for any more times coming in. 5 minutes to go. These drivers now gearing up for their final runs, but we'll see if the AlphaTauri can do. No time on the board. He's going to have to get one in soon then. So LMN coming through the first sector. Mike, let's see what he can do.
Yep, 27.4 in the first sector, and that's pretty decent, on par with the fastest first sector we've seen so far, which was from Nathan. As we come down into turn 10, big old lockup on the front of the left. Now DRS wide open, and it's looking like a good lap so far from the AlphaTauri as we come down into turns 11. And let's see if he can keep it together through turn 12, avoiding that inside curve. And it's purple in sector 2 as well. And he just drifts out wide.
Oh, that's a massive shame. He was on pace for a pretty solid lap. They're up near the top. But that has unfortunately come to blows. But he will still have a chance of improving in the latter point of the session. So pretty much everyone now is pit lane bound. Element is still out there. He is going again there, Mike.
Yeah, he backed off a little bit and he's gearing himself up to go again. So I think he may have run out of soft tyres to choose from. So he's thinking about just getting a lap on the board.
Yeah, I think he is just going for broke here in this section. He's got the engine turned up. He is going flat out here, going throughout the end of this first sector. We'll keep on board then with the AlphaTauri. We'll see what he can conjure up for us here. His first sector was actually a little bit quicker than before. Again though, in a 127.4, so he has still got some pace in those tires, still got some life in them. Can he continue to extend that, to push out forward throughout the remainder of this flying lap? Now he is gearing towards the 10th turn on the circuit. DRS is open yet again here, and so now everyone now gearing up, watching how he can pull off that, going through now into turn 11, picking up that throttle nice and early, and now sweeping throughout turn 12 at incredibly high speed. Very brave of the drivers to go flat out to there, but they manage it then. Second sector again is on par with what he did before, a 36.3 in that middle sector. So we'll see where he stands with 3 minutes to go here qualifying now around the final corner of the circuit then. Onto the throttle, where does he go? Not got a lap time in yet. This one's nice and clean, comes up to the line, goes 5th. That's much better from Elman. Puts himself right up into the mix, but can he stay there with so many lap times yet to come in into the final runs here at quali?
But as you say, we got people out on the track right now, setting themselves up for their final runs. Just Chris ahead of the pack, so he'll be the first man. Then I believe we'll have the racing point of Nathan then second up, and of course we got Gary not too far behind as well. So we're starting to see these guys filter out onto the track for their final runs.
Yes, indeed. We'll keep an eye out on the McLaren of Just Chris F1 then. What can he do in this final part of qualifying now? 2 minutes to go in the decisive moment. Who's going to grab that all-important pole position to get themselves to the best possible spot to start the 29-lap race here at Bahrain? So let's watch the McLaren then. He did go onto provisional pole for a short amount of time in the middle point of the session. Gets a bit of oversteer though, coming off of turn 2. We'll see if he can continue to push on throughout the remainder of this flying lap. Now, into turn 4, he's running it out there. I think he's actually seems to be backing off somewhat, going throughout it. Then he pulls off to the side of the track, cuts across there at turn 6. So he's giving up on that lap, and we're going to track maybe someone else on the lap. Do you see anyone else that's pushing it behind me?
Well, we got Nathan coming to the end of sector 1, but just behind him we have Gary on a lap coming into turn 4 right now. So we'll see what his first sector split is, and it's a 27.3. He has set the fastest first sector.
So he is flying along nicely as the Williams. Can he continue to extend that to push on throughout this middle part of the lap? Now, downhill, braking zone. How's the lockup? It's a little slight inside front lockup and a bit of oversteer on the exit, but he's gathered it up nicely and he's still pushing on, looking to try and unseat Jorg from that pole position. Still pushing as hard as he possibly can now. Heading in to turn 11, running it right up to the outside curve, skipping it back to the right hand side of the track. Now getting it right in there for turn 12. Second sector, it's good, it's very good, but it's not quite as quick as Jorg was. He is at the moment looking at being very, very close to that pole position. Is he going to hold on to it though, even if he gets it? Now, coming through into the final corner, clips the curve nicely, gets a good strong exit. Nathan puts it into P2 right in the mix here. Gary now to the line, it is going to be just shy of it. Has to settle for third. Incredibly close. Nathan though, a great second place. He's put himself right in contention, but Jorg still holding pole position, and he's got another lap yet left to do. He's out there at the moment as the Alfa Romeo.
Yep, as the qualifying session has come to an end, so there will be no further laps. It's all about this lap that you are currently on. I believe we have the Williams of, maybe that's T. Jonas or B. Morgan. T. Jonas hasn't actually set a lap, and it is T. Jonas as he comes now down towards turns 14. The final 2 corners. What is this lap going to be for the Renault driver? For the final corner he'll go, and opening up DRS, and it's going to be a 25.1.
So he does put himself into the mix. Number crew as well, improving. Goes up to 4th, just behind his teammate Gary. We're now getting into the best side of things now. The lap time's going to come flying in here, folks. Who is going to be on that all-important pole position? Jorg is still going around there as Caladri goes up into 5th place. But look at Jorg, he's flying. He was purple in the first sector. The second sector not quite as good. Is he on pole? Yes, he is. He extends the margin with a crushing 1:24.6. A huge lap from the Alfa Romeo, and is that going to be up there? We still have a lot of lap times yet to come. It's OWR Isotopic now, currently 7th. He's going to try to prove he does get up into 3rd position. So Isotopic, a strong lap, putting himself right in the mix in this final stage here in qualifying. Do we have anything left? Gary's peeled out. Gary, who of course set a lap time earlier, is not going to improve. I think that is going to be it for qualifying. Jorg on pole position yet again, this one more emphatic, over a 10th of a second clear in such a tight session. Jorg in a great spot, but can he give out at this time to a race victory in the second round of the season? Jorg is in the best spot, but we know how easy it is to overtake round here. We know what threat the Alfa Romeo is still under.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very interesting to see if he's going to be able to hold on to it this time and shake off the mistake from last week, but he is out there on pole position now.
Yeah, by a good margin as well. At 1600ths of a second clear of Nathan, who takes a surprise second place. Isotopic and third. Gary, last week's race winner, having to settle for 4th. He's going to have to fight back later on. McCrew is P5 in front of Caladri, 6th. Just Chris 7th. Element 8th. B Morgan 9th and Tionis running at the top 10. They're locked onto those soft tires and are going to have a bit of a hard time of it, stretching them to the end. Noisy is 11th then, ahead of Jeff 12th, Scuba 13th, Sway 14th, Alonso 15th to the end, Cowboy 16th, and Mir hasn't set lap time. He was banned from qualifying this week due to an infringement last week, so he didn't set a time. The top 16 separate by less than 7/10 of a second. The close margins we've come to expect here, Mike. But if the last representative to go by, this should be another cracking race.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be an absolute cracker. Bahrain always throws up fantastic racing. I can't wait to see what these guys are going to put on show for us here tonight.
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to heading into the race. Of course, we know it is a 29-lap affair between drivers. And so they're going to be having it out there for the entire race. And Mike, of course, you've done your fair share of league racing on this game. What do you expect the kind of strategies to be? And in particular, what do you expect the guys outside the top 10 to be going for?
Outside the top 10, I'm expecting the medium compound tyres to be selected. I believe the medium to hard is still the superior race strategy around this circuit, although the soft to hard is doable. And I believe I've seen in the past someone even attempt a soft to medium and make it work.
So there's the big variation of strategies that can be run around here. And so that's what you're going to be seeing throughout this race. Should have a lot to look forward to. Do not look anywhere. This should be a stunner. Of course, so Jorg on that pole position. Around about now, you should be seeing the standings coming up on your screen yet again, in case you didn't see them earlier. In qualifying, of course, you're seeing that Williams 1-2 as it stands. But of course, it can all change, especially with Ryan not being here. It can allow, especially that Constructors, to close up tonight. You see, those Williams are still up there, but it is the Alfa Romeo of Jorg who's got himself up on to that pole position. We'll see if he can hold on to it. Nathan alongside him, though, you suspect, is going to give him a good old run for his money. We'll see if he manages it there, but that run into turn one, it's quite a long run there. The start's so crucial, and you could see positions changing hands. It's such a tight complex for the first few corners, so getting through that first few corners cleanly going to be so important. But looking at the drivers outside the top 10, Mike, you're seeing, as you mentioned, a lot of alternate strategies and one tyre choice that really sticks out to me.
Is that Alonso on the hards?
That would be Alonso on the hards. What do you reckon? What do you think of that? You think he's going very deep into this race then?
I mean, Alonso usually tries this strategy. He goes for the slowest tyres first, and so he can be faster at the end of the race. Of course, this will all depend on if he can keep with the guys ahead. Because as we know, if you go outside the DRS around this circuit, you begin to fall away from the pack. So Alonso's going to have to do his best to keep with the medium runners at the very least. But I'm looking at the guy in P11 right now, Ace Noisy. We see his teammate up there on pole position. I mentioned the Alfa Romeos earlier. It seems like they got the two best spots here on the grid.
Yeah, certainly. The guys at the lower end of the top 10, those two Renos in particular, are going to be the ones ruining their positions. Just before we get onto the grid though, Mike, I'm going to come to you quickly. Before they get this race underway, what is your top 3 prediction for this Grand Prix here at Bahrain?
Jorg, Gary, Nathan.
Okay, that was not much hesitation there, Mike. I like that. Just getting yourself nice and set up then for the race. As everyone now is queuing up to the grid, Jorg and Nathan, your front row, but who's going to be leading the way? Heading in to that all-important first corner. Who's going to grab the early advantage here in the Bahrain Grand Prix that's about to get underway as we have 5 lights. And we are away for the second round of the TTML division this season. Great start from Nathan alongside the front row. He draws alongside Jorg already. They're badly going towards the first corner, but Nathan has the upper hand, has his nose ahead, is fully ahead, going through the first corner as they all jostle for possession behind. You can see McCruz at a good start then, getting up the inside of Isotomic and charges through, and Gary is dropping down the field. Gary off then, the championship leader off early in this race. Yellow flags, debris flying everywhere. everywhere. You can see it then, further up the field, Caladri just crest, battling it out then, heading into turn 6 in the middle side of the McLaren, as round the outside of the AlphaTauri, claims the lane at turn 7, forces his way through, and he's up in the 5th place. Great move from Just Crested, and the two AlphaTauris bunching up there. Element trying to get up to Caladri further down the field then, and Emir recovering from a qualifying ban. He's side by side with Noisy, running round the outside of turns 8 and 10. He's getting it up and alongside the Red Bull Scuba, who picks up the throttle early on exit, just to be able to survive it. What a manic start. Nathan grabbing the lead from York, but arguably the big story there is Gary, last week's race winner, down at the back of the field. He's got so much room there to try and recover. His race has been massively compromised.
Yeah, and there was heavy front wing damage also on the Williams car as well, so he's going to be a very long way at the back of the grid, but I mean, I wouldn't count Gary out just yet. He may be able to come back and get some good points later in the race.
We'll see what he can do with that then. Two drivers picked up damage on that first lap. There was Gary, of course, Noisy as well, got knocked there, and you can see him dropping back from the pack ahead. Then he's also diving to the pit lane. I suspect Gary will as well. And so that is the story from early in the race. And you're still watching Nathan, the race leader, right a little bit wide there going through turn 1, but he will just about hold on to it. DRS not active yet, Mike. And so the overtaking isn't as easy as you usually see it. But the soft runners, apart from Gary, seem to have gotten away with that. They're all jostling for position further back. But the real question is now, can those medium runners stay in contention? Scuba, I'm watching, he's in the mix then, sitting up behind Jeff then, who's actually the leading medium runner out there. Those guys have made good solid starts, they're in the mix there, and if they can stick with these soft runners, they'll have a better chance later on in the stint and later on in the race if they can hold on for these next few laps.
Yeah, absolutely, and for Coreboy, currently in 12th, he's trying absolutely everything to catch onto the back of Scuba to get into this train. He's just outside of that 1 second window at the moment, and you can see he's pushing everything to try and close back up.
Of course, he was behind Noisy on the start, who had the damage, held him up, and then went to the pit lane, so that gap opened up. And so Coreboy's going to have to charge through. Emir as well at behind is going to have to be a man on the move. But now, the early stages of this race, most of the field still together. I'm watching though, they're getting very close. And behind Sway is getting right up to the rear wing of the Racing Point of Emir, who's going to have to try and hold that back. DRS will now be activated, will be used for the first time on the run. I believe it won't be used until we get into turn 4. We have it, I believe, an early pits there. I think Emir has gone in very early, and I'm not sure if he's picked up any damage on that last lap. It hasn't shown up for me, but he is going in very early on here and looking for a bizarre strategy here. We'll see what the Racing Point comes in, but it's very unusual to see cars in this early. Now DRS is activated. Now you're going to see a lot more battling out there on track. York, does he have any intentions of wrestling that lead back from Nathan, who still holds a comfortable lead at this race? But my oh my, does he have a pack of cars chasing him down?
Yeah, unfortunately York just didn't have the legs to challenge down into turn 4 there. Nathan just having the straight line speed to defend. However, I would expect York to maybe go for the move on the run down into turn 1 on the following lap. So we'll see if he can stay close enough to the Racing Point. And McCrew also pretty close to the back of Isotopnik for 3rd place right now.
Yeah, you can see them all kind of bunching up there in that front portion of the field. Most of these guys are doing pretty well in the ERS, particularly the top two. They're running close to 90%. So they've really managed to maximise that, and they have a lot of potential to keep moving forward. These top two, Nathan and York, have looked at the class of the field so far in this race, but they haven't broken away just yet. I saw something flying up there, not exactly sure what that was. I think everyone's nice and clean as now DRS going to be open, as does York have intentions of wrestling back the race lead. The answer looks to be yes, as he dives to the inside line of TTG. Nathan cuts in front and grabs the race lead. So York now up in front. Is he going to hold on to it now on the run down towards turn 4? That's opened up this race. York heading the front then. Can he sustain it then? Looks like he will be able to then. Nathan unable to chase it back down. Has to sit it behind him then. It's further down the field. I've noticed him attacking boots. I think there's a car off then. Is Alonso off there in the background on the hard tyres? That's compromised his strategy as well.
Yep, Alonso going around early on, and that is really going to hinder his race. I'm pretty sure Gary, Noisy and Emir in the back would have been hoping for an SC to come out there so they could close back in. But yeah, all the runners on the hards right now are a long way back off the pack.
Yeah, certainly. I saw Morgan make a bit of a mistake there. Tiona's trying to get up to him. Jeff, Scuba, and now Coreboy, all with this leading train, and they're all running that sort of pace. You see the kind of pace that these guys have. They're sway on the last lap. Set the quickest overall lap time in the race. Those medium tires are already beginning to come into play. As I saw a mistake up the road then. That was Caladra running a little bit offline, and now his teammate LMN is maybe fancying his chances. He keeps ducking out of line. To maybe put some pressure on his teammate. Doesn't look like there's any team orders here between these two AlphaTauris as they now come over the line to start the fifth lap. As I'm seeing Isotopic, yes, very close to the rear wing of Nathan. Is he going to go for the move? He pulls out the slipstream, but he does not quite go for the overtaking manoeuvre then. But he is getting close to York as well. That's how powerful that DRS says. York, as big as the lead as he can pull out down that straight. He's going to get reeled in with the DRS coming back towards him. And you can see that now in action as Nathan chasing him down, but can't quite get close enough. So they're all running at the moment in a nice little formation, just keeping themselves alive out there, not making many errors. But Nathan just a little bit struggling, I'd say, with the dirty air, particularly through these high-speed sections. It's allowing Isotopic to get up towards it, but Isotopic not going for the move just yet. Nathan has a lot of pace, I think, still in this race. He's going to have to try and use it. He has more battery than virtually anyone else in this race, so he can try and use that to get to York, but York looks pretty comfortable up at the front at the moment.
Yeah, I've been noticing as well, Nathan, he's just sitting in the DRS, he's not using his overtake. So strategy maybe for long term, save as much DRS as you can early on, and then you'll have a lot more to fight with later in this race. Appears to be the strategy there from Nathan. McCrew all over the back of Isotopic as Alonso has left the session, which is unfortunate there for Alonso.
Yeah, disconnection, I think that is there. Hugely unfortunate, as you said. Unfortunately, that's going to have a massive knock on his chances in this race. If he can get back in, we'll see if that's going to be a possibility. Still, they all run in relative formation. McCrew is pretty close to the back of Isotopic now, so the Ferrari is the man under pressure. Fades to the inside line. He knows he's got a little bit of heat from behind. McCrew, though, is just going to sit in the toe for the time being, but he has got a good run there coming out of turn 3. I think Isotopic will have enough in hand, though, to survive another day, and still these guys running in a gargantuan trade from first down to 11th. It's extraordinary. Scuba further back. I think he's got to run on Jeff. He holds back for the time being. The Ferrari, though, looking to try and hold him back. You can see them running in 10th and 11th, still with this leading battle. They will have a bit more of a chance to move forward later on in the centre. Constantina going into turn 8, that braking zone, bunching the ball up back there. Still no real moves though. These guys all being patient and waiting for the opportunities to open up rather than trying to force their way through. But I think you can see the mediums coming into it as Jeff and Scuba both putting heavy pressure on Tionis up ahead now.
Yeah, the medium compound tyres are now starting to come into play. And for Jeff, Scuba and Cowboy, who's managed to close up now to the back of Scuba, so Cowboy doing a good job in getting himself back in this train. With Jeff, Scuba and Cowboy, you can see their tyres are starting to come into it now. This train has been perfect for them because they've been able to stay with it, and now they have the better compounded tyres to be on.
Yeah, and they're going to have to use that to good effect though. But they will have fresher tyres as well in the second stint, assuming things all go to plan for them, as Chris is going out very early then. So the McLaren diving to the pit lane, an early call. He's going to look to try and get some track position. That's not a bad strategy either. He's going to go into the hards. He's going to look to get to the end of the race. And I think that may well work out well for him, because with the field so close and so bunched up, it may well serve him well, even if he has some worse tyres later on, just to jump up in the train, with overtaking actually being quite hard in the DRS straight as it stands. Just jumping some guys to the pit stops may well be the way to go here.
Yeah, and Chris noticing the train, noticing the opportunity for the undercut, and we'll see if it'll pay off for him. As Isotopic, they're looking for a tighter line through turns 8 to try and get the run on Nathan, but doesn't quite manage it. Nathan teetering on the edge of that 1 second window though. So York doing a good job up front, and there we go, Nathan's out of DRS. Well, he's got DRS at the moment, but he'll need to close up a little bit more to get the DRS on the pit straight.
Yeah, York's pace from qualifying seemingly transferring over to the race Of course, back last time out in Australia, Gary seemed to have no trouble keeping up with him. I think that was McCrew running very wide there, going through turn 12, and he does pick up his first warning. Most of the drivers at the moment are warning free, and all of them are penalty free. So nice clean driving at a track where admittedly penalties aren't picked up quite as often. Nathan, though, coming through over the line, he is still with Jorg, and I think he's pushed a lot to try and stay in that range. That DRS is still going to be with him, though, as I see another pit stop in the background. That's Element that's dived in. So we're seeing some drivers going into the pit lane early here, and that's going to break up the formation somewhat up at the front. We've got to keep an eye out on some of those guys going for undercuts, because while an undercut on paper is a good strategy, the hard tires are so much slower and take so long to get up to temperature that even if you have fresher tires underneath you, it's hard to make up that difference and jump up the train as these guys are hoping to.
Yeah, and a big telling point will be this gap between Chris and LMN, and Chris able to get a 2-second gap to LMN there, and they were both in the same train, similar place in that train as well, so that shows the undercut. But the more laps that Chris can do on those tyres, the more those tyres will come to him and he can maximise that undercut.
Yeah, we'll see what he can make of that. And hard tires, what's the early indication? Well, it seems pretty good. He was purple in the middle sector on that last lap, so they have got some pace underneath them, and Chris can try and jump up. And what that's going to do here is it's going to probably entice some of these guys that still lead the way out there here in the 8th lap to maybe go into the pit lane very, very soon. Maybe even on this lap you could see a busy pit lane to try and bring things up. I saw McCrew getting a massive oversteer there coming off at turn 13. These drivers are all going to have to take care and watch themselves out there and make sure they're keeping that car pointed in the right direction, staying on the track. Now Jorg diving to the pit lane, and he is followed by Nathan, by Isotopic, by McCrew, and now as well Morgan's the only one that stays out there. It is incredibly busy in there, and that's a real opportunity for drivers to jump up the order, but also could be a danger for them to lose out. And also keep an eye out on where Chris and Element are going to come out in relation to this. So here we go. Where's everyone going to emerge? Nathan just out in front of Isotopic, cutting right in front, as you can see as well. And Caladri just in front of Tionis. McCrew's lost between them now.
Here comes Chris.
We're watching up in front. Chris coming down the outside, and it's going to be incredibly close. I think Chris has done it. Chris into the net race lead. Unbelievable. That undercut has put it right to the short bit. And look at this. Element is round the outside of Isotopic, gets the move done in at turn 2. The undercut pitting in early has dramatically shaken up the order here. Chris now Isotopic back down the inside of the turn 4. Can he get alongside and through? No, he can't. So Element gets it done. The cold tires of the Ferrari costing him dearly. He drops now behind, and Element jumping up in the big story now. Just Chris has jumped right up front now. He leads the race in net position, but you said that now with 2 lap older tires, Jorg and the rest of the field are going to be charging at him. They're going to try and grab that position back.
Yeah, and interestingly, we saw B. Morgan staying out. He was the lead Renault car as well, so I'm surprised he didn't jump into the pits. Maybe a bit of communication between the Renault drivers there. T-Jonas maybe struggling on his tyres a little bit more and wanted to opt out first. But here comes B. Morgan into the pits. That will release the medium runners. But here goes Scuba with DRS, and he's just going to draw alongside and through into first. Can Trippy Jeff get the move back? He goes on a tight line, look for the better exit out of turns 1, 2 and 3, but it doesn't look like he's got a good enough run. So Scuba into the race lead.
And now Jorg trying to pressure Just Chris, then Just Chris looking, covering to the inside lane slightly, but the inside is still found by the Alfa Romeo. Gets up and alongside the McLaren. Middle wheel bumping through turn 1, but Chris is not giving this up and cuts back in front through turn 2. He is holding on to this with every inch of his life, but he's under heavy pressure. The Alfa back up to the outside lane. He's squeezed out by the McLaren, who is not going to give up this position anytime soon. They're coming up now. Find ASC Alonso at the front of this train with older tires. He is going to be, I imagine, slipping back through this train, but Just Chris is being held up here. He's got to try and get a car between himself and the chasing pack, but Jorg's pace looks so impressive, so intimidating for the net race leader to put up with there, but you see Alonso up ahead. Bit of a lock-up is going to put him under a bit of pressure. Can Chris get up to him, closing him down towards turn 11, looking to the inside line, braking late, can he get it through on the inside line? He's going to squeeze him out, and that's a great, crucial move for Just Chris to snatch that leading position, and now York and the rest are going to have to try and follow through behind, but they can't get through, they're not close enough in a turn 13, and this is Chris's opportunity to try and pull out a gap. Well, he can, and maybe get out of DRS, but York's pace is so strong, and surely Nathan's going to try and follow through as well. So now, could be a decisive moment in this race. Great exit from York, coming over turn 15. Now, you can see he's on that overtake mode, he's going to be eager to fight back and get alongside Alonso. Alonso now under pressure as you're pulling through on the inside line, closing up the Chris as well. But you can see Alonso not giving this up. Runs round the outside, gets squeezed out there surely. And now following through Nathan on the outside line, forced over turn 3, still trying to fight back. But I don't think he'll be near enough. Is he going to dive into turn 4 then? Up behind him, can't get through. Alonso holds him and runs away. And now on to Nathan then. Can Nathan get through in sensational fashion here? Draws alongside, inside lane and through. Brilliant from Nathan to get that possession done. Alonso fought as hard as he could over it, but couldn't quite hold it back. Nathan now through, and he can move up to Jorg and Chris up ahead, but look at how quickly Jorg has wheeled in Chris. He is looking by far the quickest driver in this race so far. Chris surely can't hold it back for much longer.
No, and the pace of Jorg is showing right now. He needs to get past Chris, because the more he battles with Chris, the more likely the likes of Scuba, Trippy Jeff, Cowboy and Sway will become a major thorn in their sides later into this race.
Yeah, certainly, but you get to see these guys, I imagine, pitting in pretty soon. The race leaders all running up there at the front. Scuba is showing probably the best pace out of all of them. You can see Alonso struggling for traction back there, but look at York. He is just pounding down the McLaren. He's had chances to overtake, hasn't quite got through. Alonso at the session again, his connection, unfortunately, just not holding up tonight. But look at this now. I think off there. I think that's Calandra that's going off. It's now York pulls alongside Chris, goes through into the race lead. So York snatches that back. I should say it's the net race lead, not quite the race lead on track. As now Element on Alonso's AI car, who's getting slipped out in the order. You have to feel for Alonso. That's the second one in the race. He's just not been able to hold up throughout then, and he drops down. But we also saw Calandra going off. He's dropped well off the train.
McCrew just got absolutely, he just got whacked from behind, and he almost went straight into the back iso top deck there. I think that might have been Tijonas that went into the back rim. I'm looking for front wing damage. I'm not seeing any visually, but a big hit there for McCrew there, almost straight into the back iso top deck.
Yeah, I'm just looking. It doesn't look like he's got any damage, so he's got away with that. That hit there going into turn 4, just about holding on at the front. Let's just keep an update on what some of the other drivers out there are pulling off in terms of pace-wise, because of course we still have Scuba, Jeff and Corboy all still out there up at the front, and I can tell you they are all running pretty solid pace around about the mid-30 range, holding on nicely at the front. But the race leaders, actually, they're not actually going any quicker. I'm just looking at it then. They're running in the mid to high 30s, as now Jeff overtaking Scuba up at the front, and he's just gone straight through into turn 1. Didn't even clock that. Scuba looked like he was holding on to it. Can he come back, though, with some DRS? These two guys all have a great shot in this race, and they're going to war, to battle out there on the track. But Jeff is going to hold on to that, and Scuba, I think, is wise to not go early, as Nathan now attacking Chris out there. The racing point coming right into this race. Chris is holding on to Jorg at the front, but he's not doing any more than that, and he's just trying to stick with him now. Nathan, can he get ever closer? He's drawing nearer now, looking to the inside line. No, will not quite go through with it. Not quite able to find that time. Sways now out the session, coming into turn 7.
I'm guessing Sway just got onto that outside curb and just went straight off into the wall. Yellow flags are out, and I don't think we're going to get... Oh, is that Morgan? Morgan's around.
Ooh, Morgan, who was running at the tail end of that train, and VSC deployed. And so that, maybe we'll see how long it stays out. He spun again. Is that Caladri that's tapped him there?
I think Caladri had a little tap on him, but I think with Morgan's tyres being pretty overheated from that first spin, the little tap was enough to send him around again, but I don't know, it's very fine margins between those two there. I can't place a blame on either side, but yeah, VSC out and Alonso has rejoined the session, and that's the medium runners are in under VSC.
Yeah, they've timed this perfectly. This strategy has worked wonderfully into their hands. Where do they emerge in relation to the net race? As they have fresher tires, so if they were in front, you could class that as almost game over. And now Jeff has been thrust right into the limelight here. Is he going to emerge from the pits in front? I think he might do as he gets up to race speed now. It's going to be incredibly close, but I think Jorg is just going to have him around. Jeff back to the inside. No, we'll cut it behind, but look at the battle again behind. Scuba emerging with NER. Element running round the outside and isotopic as well. Trying to get past the Red Bull who runs it back round the outside and turns through. It keeps a hold of that second position, trying to turn through. And now the crew further down the field, they're looking at Corboy, but Corboy on fresher tires has the grip, he has it in him to hold up the crew. They get up the wrong thing, contact between them, they get locked together, and now Tionis round on the outside of turn 6, surely not all the way round here, there's contact between them now. Tionis sliding, just gathers it back, just rescues the car. That was a phenomenal save from the Renault, but he has lost some time out there trying to go wheel to wheel with dicing with the crew. But Jeff has almost been gifted this. He showed such good pace in that alternate strategy, and the VSE thrust him right into it. Now when Jorg was attacking Chris, it was a matter of when, not if, as to him getting through. Now Jeff, you reckon, has got the same situation with 4-lap fresher tires. Surely he's got the facilities to get this move done. We're nearing the halfway point. The Ferrari could take a commanding advantage in this race if he can just get this move done.
Yep, Trippy Jeff has been thrusted into a fantastic position here in this race, as has Scuba as well. He's currently in 6th. And you got to think these guys on the fresh hards will start to make their moves. As now DRS wide open, here goes Trippy Jeff to the inside, and he's going to get the move very easily, and he'll be well ahead before we reach the braking zone into turn 1.
Is that going to be a decisive moment in this race? The VSC coupled with that overtake has thrust Jeff into the lead of this race. Now he has the pace, he has the tires underneath him. Can he continue to stretch that gap then? For Ferrari, he is on for this. He was already going to have a very strong showing as he goes purple in that first sector. That is the signs of his pace, and we saw iClock just before they went into the pit lane. His, Scuba's and Corboy's pace were matching the net race leaders who had better tires than them, and just being able to keep those mediums alive has really served them well and kept them in it. VSC thrust them forward, and now Jeff has a commanding advantage. He had a mistake there which has put Jorg a bit closer to him, but even with DRS, the Alfa Romeo's going to have a really hard time trying to hold on to the racing Ferrari now.
Yeah, and this is crucial for Trippy Jeff. He needs to get out of that DRS range as soon as possible, so he needs to use the advantage of these fresh hards early doors. He's got the gap to just under 7/10 of a second. He needs a few more as Alonso has rejoined the session once again. Hopefully this is the last time he'll have to rejoin, as we hope his internet is going to be stable enough to continue on, as we've got Scuba all over the back of LMN, and I believe he's just going to sit in behind, save a bit of ERS. Isotopic dropping a little bit far off the back of the Red Bull now.
Yeah, you can see he's struggling a bit more then, of course, with the much fresher tires that Scuba has under them, but he's going to use these fresher tires now, I think, as he chases down onto the rear wing of Element, as they're going to be moved to the inside of turn 4, looks forward, brakes much later, does the Red Bull, can he get it stopped and turned in, and look for 5th place then? Yes, he does! He is up in the 5th, and he's got a good run at least 2nd place in this race. Such is the advantage of these tires and the pace that he is showing. You can see Jeff pulling away at the front. He'll still hunt for that. He'll still look to get this race win, but he's got cars to get through if he wants that. And Jeff certainly has the advantage as it stands, but can he hold on to it then? He is moving clear at the front. Scuba, now he's got Nathan to try and dispatch of then for Red Bull, running up ahead in that 5th position. We'll see what he can do with it then. He's got Nathan up in front. They're all chasing down Chris now, as still this train is held up then. This has been an amazing spectacle, with the pack so closely together. It's still 1st through 9th that's all together, more than halfway into this race. The field's so evenly matched, but Jeff now is stealing a march, and Jorgen already see is struggling to hang with him now already in this race. You said it's only a matter of time before he drops out of that range.
Yeah, and now it's all about can Scuba make his way through this field? Of course, Nathan, Chris, and York for the time being all having DRS on each other. And here goes Nathan. He's right underneath the rear wing of Chris. Most to the inside. It's a lunge, but he goes deep, and is that going to open things up for Scuba?
On the exit, Scuba switching to the inside of turn 3 then, but it's covered off by Chris. Is Chris going to hold on to this? Is Scuba going to do the same move? Does Lightning Strike twice? No, it doesn't. He will hold back from it. As now McCrew attacking Isotopic. Alonso's got out of the session. That's in the pit lane. He's had enough after all the disconnections, I think. Both he and Sway now out the session. Gary's got in as well, looking to get fresh tires or go for fastest lap at least in what has been a miserable race that was ruined just 3 corners in. So Gary's going to have to try and wrestle something out of it, but what a horrible day that he's had. Maybe a safety car can drag him back into it, but it's not, I imagine, going to have much of an effect. So Jeff still leads the way. York trying to chase him down second, and York is still with this. He is still holding on to that DRS, so Jeff hasn't broken him just yet, but he does have 5 lap pressure tyres. His tyres are about 15% pressure at this stage, so he does have more in it as it stands. But can he use that to pull out away from the tremendously fast Alfa Romeo driver? Nathan moving forward as well. So Chris on the oldest tyres out of this bunch, slowly dropping back. And he says now that Scuba's going to have a run out of the Red Bull, chasing down. He still wants a podium here today.
Yep, Scuba looking like he's just sitting back, waiting for his opportunity. He's trying to save his ERS as well, and looking at the ERS usage between Trippy Jeff and Jorg, looks like Jorg is doing a fantastic job on his ERS management because he's still got the most out of anyone I've seen out there on track right now.
Yeah, and he can use this to come back. Then he is not out this race just yet because Jeff isn't exactly breaking away up front. I think he does have more pace in that car as it stands, but you can see the power of that DRS, keeping Jorg in it and saving the ERS along with that, compounding that with that. That's certainly helping him stay in contention. And so everyone who's anyone still has a shot of winning this race, and Scuba in particular is still on the charge, on the move. And now has the McLaren of Just Chris right in his crosshairs, right in his sights. Now opens up the DRS, but he's too far away. And you can see now the disadvantage of running in a DRS train. Even if you have more speed in hand over the cars ahead, even if you have more grip in the tires, you're pulling out of every turn faster. It's just not a guaranteed move then. And I think Scuba, what he's going to have to do is muster up some overtake mode to try and get through. I think that's the only way he's getting past at the moment, because Chris is a brick wall in front of him. He's closing down towards the last corner, but he is just too far away. He doesn't want to lunge it going into here, but he will have more of a chance, I think, going in to turn 1, and he gets a really punchy exit coming over turn 14 and 15. Now with DRS open, is he going to chase him down? He's trying to get up to him, but I think Chris is using the overtake mode to defend his position. And now York going for the race lead against Jeff. Can he get through on the inside line? Yes, he can. I said he was not out this race, and he has pulled through. Jeff got out of shape. Nathan about him now. Chris getting up alongside the racing point, trying to follow through into the podium. No, Nathan will hold him back just about. And now you can see there elements trying to look at Scuba there. They're all jostling for position after that move from York, after the mistake from Jeff. He's now back at the front. York's speed is just so sensational that he's offsetting a tire disadvantage. He's now on for a potential race winner. Can he hold on to it? We've still got 10.5 laps left to go, but York leads the way. Can Jeff fight back here? Can he find anything? But York has been in imperious form today.
York has been doing absolutely fantastic, and we saw Trippy Jeff there just losing the back end after being overtaken. It compromised Nathan, but fortunately for Nathan, Chris does not have the ERS to really attack him with. We saw his red light flashing, and he was out of deployment. His red light is still flashing now. He is very low.
Yeah, he's going to have to try and save that up then throughout the remaining laps if he wants any chance going into the last few laps. The top 9 are still all scrapping over the race lead. This is phenomenal racing out there on the circuit. And again, Scuba having a little look, but if anything, he's just compromised his own racing line and compromised his own momentum down the straight. But I think he's still got intentions to attack. Is he finally going to wrestle that 4th place away? But look at Jeff. He's fighting back at the inside line. No, that's what he's going to hold back from. Jorg holding him off, but how long Can he hold it back for us? Still Nathan's in this, still Chris is in this. They are all still in contention. Who's going to come away with this race victory? Again, Scuba coming at Chris. And is he going to go to the inside line? Yes, he is. He's committed, but he's not committed enough. By then trying to get him those alongside of McLaren running around the outside. Will hold on to 4th place. And still, Scuba, everything he throws to the McLaren is repelled. He cannot get through for the life of him. He's struggling so much to make progress. So is Corboy behind. And these guys on the older tyres, on a strategy that's worked against them, you have to admire how well they've held up. But can they still do it as their tyres will fall away in the last few laps? Scuba is still right there with Chris. Can he close it down? He can't. He's just too far away. Every now and then he's just a few tenths too far back. And now Jeff's fighting back at York. He's still in this one. Ferrari versus Alfa Romeo at the front. Can anyone else work their way back into this race, Mike?
I'm still trying to figure out who's going to be the closest to make a move. Trippy Jeff all over the back of York. You got Scuba over the back of just Chris. You got Cowboy trying to use his tyres to catch onto the back of LMN. It'll be all about who's really going to commit for a move here.
Well, I think committing is going to be what Jeff is going to do as he chases down York now to the inside line, heading down the main straight. And is the lead going to change hands yet again? Yes, it is. The Ferrari goes through and he retakes the lead for the second time in this race. Can York fight back? Coming off of turn 3, he's too far away though. He's not going to be able to switch that position. As further down the field, I'm seeing McCrew attacking Corboy, who defends the inside of turn 4. McCrew almost into the back of the Mercedes then, trying to find a gap, but the gap does not open up. McCrew has to maintain this 8th place. Isotopics still with these guys, and Isotopics really lost out then just by staying out too long. And now McCrew to the inside line on Corboy, lay on the brakes. Can he get up alongside him then? But the Mercedes will hold on to it. McCrew couldn't quite get through then. He looked to the inside line, couldn't make the move snap, but now the Williams is attacking, trying to get up the field as well. Can he make progress here? As McCrew's gone off there, he's going to drop in Isotopic now.
Yeah, I think what happened there, McCrew went into the back of Corboy, and then it was a concertina effect of Isotopic into the back of McCrew, or McCrew just losing it on traction there. But I think it was a bit of a concertina effect between those 3 drivers, but McCrew losing out, and he will not have DRS, so Isotopic will have an opportunity to get himself up into P8 as Nathan is all over the back of Jorg now.
Yeah, Nathan, he actually had a little look there going into turn 11 further down the lap. So he's now getting himself right into contention. Can he find a way through that, heading towards the first corner? But I think he's just going to be too far away. And again, York fighting back to Jeff. Look at the outside line. Now can Nathan get through that? Forcing his way through on the inside line, but York going to try and hold it round the outside. We'll keep a hold of that 2nd place. But these guys now, dueling, fighting to the nail for it. But I don't think that Nathan is going to be near enough. He has to set him behind then. But he is coming on strongly in these last few laps. Still in with a shot in this race. Right there with him. Chris hanging on to it. Scuba trying to find a way through. It's all kicking up behind. And just as a side note, Isotopic, I think he did run into McCrew because he's let him back through. Now both these guys are off the back of the train now. McCrew trying to work his way back in, but as it stands, it is a 7-way fight for the race lead. These guys have been intact the whole way through. Jeff, can he hold on to it? Can York get through? We're coming up with 6 laps to go in this race. 7 laps to go, I should say, sorry. Can York find a way through? And is Jeff going to hold on to it? Find out in these next few minutes. York's still in this one, but Jeff holding on to the race lead. You sense that the Ferrari still has a bit more pace in hand. Can he use that to good effect throughout the final laps of this race?
This is going to be crucial now for York. He needs to make sure that he keeps in that DRS and times his overtake to perfection here. As you mentioned, the tyres are in the advantage of Trippy Jeff, and the more laps into this race we'll go, the better off it will be for Trippy Jeff and Scuba, as we see Isotopic there picking the first and only 3-second time penalty that we've seen so far today.
As York looking left and right, trying to get through it as well. He's further down the field. LMN having a little look at Scuba, can't get through. It's incredible. Isotopic is the first penalty. It took us 22 laps before we got one in this race. That is extraordinary. Great driving from everyone. As York now trying to fight back, but he's biding his time here, I think. He doesn't want to go too early because he knows Jeff probably still has a bit more pace on him. So he can try and just hold on to that lead as it stands and then come back as soon as York get past him Effie still has a bit more pace to give, but they're all still bunching up in there. I think Chris is coming on really strongly in the latter part of this race. You'd think he'd be dropping off with the tire disadvantages that he has, but he's making good use of it, and he's still in contention if anything goes wrong with these podium runners. And Scuba struggling to get through, Cowboy struggling to get through. The tire advantage hasn't quite shown through to the extent that I think we thought it would, Mike. I thought Jeff would run away with this. He hasn't, and York's still with him. Coming up now, with 6 laps to go in this race. Can Jeff hold on to it? We're going to see. And can Chris get through as well? Because he's really hounding Nathan now in the McLaren.
Yeah, and just a little note, something to keep our eyes on for the latter stages. Scuba has spent the past few laps not using his ERS, so he's now starting to build up a decent amount to attack with in these final few laps.
Yeah, so we can try and use that to good effect, and I think that's a good call, because if I'm looking at just Chris, he is incredibly low on his overtake. It's now York as well coming back at Jeff covering the inside line, though he's wise to it. A little bit of a tap between them. They're getting very up close and personal in that battle over the right sleeve, but Jeff will survive in on the day, I think, and hold on to it. But look at Nathan, he's closing up to the back of the Alfa Romeo. Does he dive it down the inside? Yes, he does. Yes, he's going to go 3 wide down the inside. Nathan, little tap with Jeff. He's going to yield that second place as well. That was so ambitious from Nathan. Maybe he didn't expect Jeff to be right in front of him now. Chris getting up alongside. I think he's completely disconnected. There's ghostly between them. Unbelievable scenes here. This is rather extraordinary. They're going to go badly out of turn 8 then. Now they approach the turn 9. Who's going to come in on top here? The inside line with Nathan. Again, he'll just hold on to it. Chris trying to follow through in a rather bizarre battle. Chris seemingly went through Nathan. Nathan fought back, managed to hold the position. Nathan, that was so ambitious. He was lucky to get away with that one. Jeff still holding the lead, and amazingly all the 3 race leaders are still pointing in the right direction after that.
Yeah, it looked like a lot of desync there between Nathan and just Chris, and fortunately they were desynced. It looked like I could have got very nasty if they didn't go to each other. But you go Scuba now to the inside of Chris. Ooh, and Nate Moore.
Oh, and I think that was Chris seemed to just move over once and then twice, and Scuba caught out by that and is going round now. Far better disappointment as Cowboy now getting alongside Element to the inside lane, and a turn 1 Kina Mercedes get that move done through on the end of the line, but Element's not giving this up, still fighting it in a turn 2. They're locked together, but round the outside he goes, and then McCrew has got a spectacular run in behind. McCrew trying to get alongside of the Williams to the outside line in a turn 4. They're almost 3 wide again. Element's boxed in there now. McCrew sweeping round the outside. Oh, spectacular for McCrew, getting up in that 6th place then. Brilliant stuff. Now the Dutchman up in a 6th, finally making progress. Both he and Isotonic have caught up to this leading battle. Scuba going round, so gutting for the Red Bull driver, having fought to move up all the way through. Finally caught up alongside Chris. Chris, on my view, seemed to just not give him the space on the inside line. He still runs up in 4th, and now York trying to get up, but they're spreading out a bit at the front then. All of a sudden Nathan and Chris dropping back a little bit from the front 2, and York holding in on Jeff. Just over 4 laps to go, and we have a thrilling finale on our hands. Who knows who's coming out on top here today?
Yeah, it just seems like Chris, a little bit of desperation there to try and keep Scuba behind, and I think that may be something that may be reported to the stewards after the race, but we'll have to see the developments from that as we go through the week. And York now looking like he's just trying to time this overtake on Chubby Jeff. I think is the key thing. He doesn't want to overtake too soon, so Jeff can overtake him back, as I believe Nathan there was on the inside there almost. And here goes Nathan now. What a run out of turns 2 and 3. He's going to draw alongside York, and to the inside will go Nathan. Whoa!
My, he nearly ran into the Ferrari. I think York had to avoid that as well. Nathan forcing him out wide, but he is up into 2nd place. So Nathan coming to the fore here in this race. York having to cede that possession, trying to fight back here on the exit of turn 8, can't get through, but Jeff has been handed a strong lead. Now can he deploy his ERS, try and get a gap in there? How much does Jeff has to his name? The answer is a lot more than Nathan has. He set this up and now he's trying to punch clear and try and seal this race victory. Is that going to be decisive? Jeff has to pull out a couple of corners here to save the world if he wants to try and get himself out of that range, but Nathan's still got a fighting chance of this one, but York's not going to be happy with that. Nathan had to run out wide and York was on the receiving end of it then. No damage for any of them. Scuba, by the way, did pick up damage in that collision with Chris. Looks like he's trying to soldier on and keep that car going to the line. And now going through then on to the 27th lap. And Jeff just about breaking that range there. I think that Nathan still has the RS down the straight, but can he pull it back for a significant amount of time? Jeff trying to break clear in, and now you're getting back up to the racing point. Is this going to be the breakaway attempt that Jeff needs, even with just 3 laps to go in this race? Even if Nathan stays with him, it's going to be so difficult for him to overhaul the Ferrari, since he's running low on ERS now as well.
Yeah, for Nathan as well, out of that final corner, I did notice that he did have a back end snap as York there, almost being able to draw alongside Nathan into the S's, but Nathan getting a back end snap coming out of the final corner, losing him a lot of time, and this is luxury right now for Trippy Jeff. So I think York was the biggest threat to Trippy Jeff winning this race here.
He's still yet, maybe. We still have 2.5 laps left, but Nathan is struggling to hold on to that DRS. And now York is reining him in again. The battle for second place not over. And Jeff is not out of the woods just yet. Let's just check. I'm just checking for warnings. All these guys are clean in terms of the penalties as it stands. But currently, these guys all clean. Jeff and Nathan have not picked up warnings in this race. That is the level of driving that we've been seeing, and it is allowing Jeff to drive a little bit more freely. 2 laps to go and he looks almost unstoppable, but can anyone chase him down? We are now coming towards the conclusion of this race. I'll feel my voice lead me. Such has been this race. It's taken it out of me. Now York coming back at Nathan to the inside line. Not going through with the move. York though running out a little bit wide. He was pressured into braking late and now trying to come back at him is York, but I think he'll be too far away. Nathan will try and hold on to that, but he's having to defend the inside line to the outside. He's gonna go as York. No, just run out of space. So Nathan will hold on to second place just in front there, but he's having to drive defensive lines. That's stopping him from challenging Jeff. Just over a lap to go as it stands, and Jeff looks comfortable. York doing everything he can, looking left and right to try and get through. He's almost alongside coming in a turn 8. Nathan making mistakes, and Jeff, that move from Nathan may have just sealed this one. The Ferrari is pulling clear. Now just has to maintain it for one more lap, and Jeff could claim an emphatic, dramatic, almost unlikely race victory here. He's just got a lap and a sector to pull off then, and it will be a race victory. Can Nathan hold on? Can Jeff, hold on to this?
Right now, Jeff doing a fantastic job out in front. Jorg has been using his ERS to really put Nathan under pressure here. And looking at the gap right now, should be Jeff not using his ERS. Obviously, not really too concerned. The gap is around about 0.8 of a second. But maybe that will have a good effect on Nathan being able to keep P2 here. And here comes York using his overtake, closing up to Nathan. I don't think he's going to be close enough into turn 1, but maybe with a good run out of turns 2 and 3, he might be able to get a run.
Can York make a last gasp overtake? It looks like Jeff is clear. He's away, going in this race, but the battle for second place still rages on. Nathan just about holding on to it, but you're getting up towards him then. He is still not out of this one. The battle's going to rage on. Corboy as well, and Chris. That battle over 4th place isn't over just yet. Corboy coming on strong, and Chris now struggling for tires is dropping back in the late point of this race. I think we're seeing yellows. That's a Mir that's going into the pit lane, going on to the final lap. Rather bizarre that he's not going to see out this race. But now, heading up the front, Nathan ran a little bit wide there, coming out of turn 10, punching clear on the exit. He's going to try and hold on to that second place all the way to the line. I think he has enough in hand. That's the last major overtaking point going into turn 11. I think York's got to rely on a drag race to the line now. Look at Cowboy getting up to the rear wing of the McLaren, unable to get through as of yet. We're going to go to Jeff, though, who has pulled clear. He is away and gone now in this race. The strategy, the BSC, it all played perfectly into his hands, but he had to see it through. He had to fade off in a tremendous chasing back, but he's going to, over the line, Trevor Jeff is going to win here in the Bahrain Grand Prix. Taking it for second, and now Cowboy trying to get up to Chris, over the line. Chris will just hold on to it for fourth place. Nathan Beast York to the line. They're second and third. There was contact over the line. McCrew is spinning over the line. He does get sick though from Element 7. Scuba in 8th after late damage. Tionis in 9th. Again, just whipping out Atomic, whose penalty drops him into 10th. Caladre, a race to forget for him in 11th. B. Morgan is 12th in the end. And Noisy and Gary are going to cap off the race finishers. What a dramatic Bahrain Grand Prix that was. What a race. What a thriller out there on track. But Jeff does see it through. He is your race winner here in the Bahrain Grand Prix. Do you think now we can maybe translate that into a championship challenge? He looked imperious in that final stint then, and Jeff is on top today.
Jeff on top, Cowboy receiving the driver of the day vote from the game. But who would be your driver of the day?
Well, I was planning to ask you this. You're turning the tables on me there. I see how it is. To be honest, it's hard to say because Jeff drove absolutely brilliantly, don't get me wrong, throughout that race. But I do think that he was benefited slightly from that VSA. So you can argue for Nathan. You can even argue for Jorg. But the thing for Jorg is that I think he had the most pace out of everyone today, but he couldn't quite do anything with it. So I think I will go for Jeff as driver of the day. You know, coming from 12th on the grid, phenomenal fight back, had a better strategy, but you've got to try and make it work. Corboy as well, a great honourable mention. 16th to 5th, drove brilliantly today, but Jeff is on top, and now we're going to see what he can make of it then. Comfortable victory in the end, he was over a second clear, which in the context of this race is a pretty commanding victory. But Jeff is on top today, he's my driver of the day as well. He didn't really put a foot wrong, particularly in that final stint.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree there with Jeff. However, very close between Jeff and Jorg in my books for my driver of the day. Cowboy, very, very good honourable mention as well, 16th up to 5th. Yeah,
great recovery drive there from Cowboy as well. He gets the end game driver of the day, but we do have some minor disagreements with that, as we have done on quite a few occasions. But I think, Mike, if you want to, maybe you could try and invite the top 3. We'll see if we can get any of them in for an interview, hear from them after what was an exhausting race for us, I think, as well, for Tom as well, who's frantically working on the graphics as well, doing a great job in there, and also for the drivers, most of all, after such a grueling race. So, Mike, if you want to try and get these guys in here.
Yep, I'm already on it.
Excellent. Love to hear that. Well, hopefully these guys have mics. Hopefully they are willing to go along with it, and we can get their thoughts after what was a absolutely dramatic race. Hopefully, after a few tough moves from each of them throughout the Grand Prix, there's no hard feelings between any of the drivers. They put on a great show here tonight, which is, I'm sure, what you guys all tuned in for, and that's what you guys were provided with as well. So, stunning stuff. We're going to look now, let's see what this does actually to the championship standings out of this race. I don't think we'll be able to see that. I don't think you'll be able to get them on the screen, but I will run through who is going to be making. Actually, I think that actually no, we're going to be able to. So of course, Gary, race winner last time out, and Jeff, who I believe wasn't here last week. He is he's a reserve. Both he and Nathan are actually reserves who finished 1 and 2 in this race, but they get a good boost, and they're putting themselves right in the mix as well. At the moment, because they actually showed up between themselves for both the races, Gary, even though he had a disastrous showing here tonight, he has actually still holding up well in the Drivers' Championship. And I can tell you right now, barring any Schurz inquiries that's going to mix up the results, both he and Jorg are tied for the championship lead on 36 points. I think Gary is still ahead on countback, so even though he had a horrible showing tonight, through no fault of his own, I think he will still maintain that championship lead and move forward with that into the later part of the season. I think, mate, that's got to be a good maybe a bit of a confidence booster as we now have our race winner, Trevi Jeff, in the party. We'll hear from you know what? We'll hear from you right now, there, Jeff. So some quick checks with you. Is your voice on public? Just so make sure so the guys on the stream can hear you.
Yep, it's on public.
Excellent. So we'll run through. Of course, qualifying didn't go maybe as well as you could have hoped for, but that kind of put you on that alternate strategy. Going into the race, did you think that maybe with starting on mediums that you could make something out of it and try and challenge at least for a podium today?
Well, I thought I could have possibly gotten into the top 5 after a few laps because my pace was quite alright, but then I realized pretty quick that you can't really overtake. So, I mean, pace-wise, I think it would have been possible, but without the safety car, I wouldn't have been able to pass all these guys. So, I don't really think that would have been possible.
Yeah, but obviously the VSE allowed you to thrust you right into the front of the race.
Yep.
What was it? Yep. So what was it like fighting with these guys? Were you feeling any pressure battling with Jorg, Nathan, and the likes then? Because those guys were giving you a hard time. I remember one 3-wide moment going into turn 4, which must have been scary for you. So what was it like battling with those guys, trying to hold them off all the way throughout that last stint, and how much pressure were you feeling then?
Well, first of all, I was praying within the pits that I came out in first place, but then I came out in second, and I thought, okay, these guys are possibly much quicker than I am. So I thought, I don't know who was in fourth. I think it was Jörg. I thought he was gonna pull away, so I wouldn't really catch him. But then after a while, I realized that they were more or less on the same pace I had, and that I could pass them. So I just went for it, and then obviously I had big pressure, but I didn't really have to defend that extremely. So it wasn't that bad. I've dealt with much more pressure before, but it was quite on the edge.
Yes, and of course after that, well, I'm gonna come over to Michael Edwards. Mike, do you have anything to ask our race winner today?
It looked like he was in the absolute thick of things for that final stint. Of course, as Dan mentioned, with the battling with Jorg and Nathan towards the end. But when those two started battling, was that the moment where you thought, okay, I can win this now?
Yeah, I think Nathan passed him in turn 3. For a second, I thought he might crash into me because he was flying into that car, and I was like, "Whoa, that was quite quick, quite close." But then I think after he passed him, I saw that he was sliding through some corners when I was looking backwards, and that he hadn't quite had the grip. So I thought at that point, okay, that now has to be the victory. So yeah, it worked out pretty nicely.
It was a fantastic drive from you, especially in that final stint, and obviously the first stint battling with Scuba as well to be the lead medium runner.
Yeah,
that must be a
was
good
fun.
battle.
Yeah, but I didn't really put up that much of a fight. I don't think he put up one either, because it would have been really pointless to hold each other up. But yeah, it was quite fun. It was all fair in the end. That's what matters most.
Great stuff.
Yeah, and we're going to hear from Nathan, I think, next up. Just first off, can you hear us, and is your voice on set to public so the audience can hear you as well?
Yes, yes.
Brilliant. Okay.
I think it is.
Yeah, so obviously you were really battling up the front all the way throughout that race, qualifying second, finishing second in the end. You spent a lot of time in that race battling with the likes of Jorg, of course, pretty much the entire way through, Jeff as well, and Chris at certain points. How would you summarise how that battling went throughout the race, and what did you think of what did you think of how that was? Because it was very tense for us to watch. Then, so what was it like out there on track?
Yes, it was really tense because overtaking is quite difficult, and you have to use all your ERS if you want to try something. And I had great fun, but I don't know where my pace came from, really, to be honest. Normally I can't qualify that good.
Well, it does kind of give you a bit of course, you are reserving for the league as it stands. But even so, of course, a great showing here tonight, and of course making that late move on Jorg as well. What was it like with that then? Because as Jeff mentioned, you came flying up to him. You kind of had to duck between two cars then. So how was that moment for you, which got quite scary down there by the looks of things?
Yeah, I was using all my ERS, and Yeah, I braked a little too late, but I didn't want to crash into both of them, so I went down the inside. And then I couldn't find the traction, so I ended up still P3. But then overtaking for P2 was quite good, and I'm happy with this.
Yeah. And also, Mike, do you have anything to add?
To be honest, I think you covered it. To be honest,
Right. I think that's. Oh, go on.
I'll just ask one question. Question to actually both. How do you feel about the next race coming up, which is, of course, Spain?
Well, I don't know if I'm going to drive there yet, so because I'm a reserve, but yeah, we'll see. Spain is not a very good track for me, but yeah, I don't know.
Nathan?
Yeah, that was Nathan.
Oh, that was Nathan. Oh, I do apologize. Trippy, what about you? I mean, if you're going to be in the seat next week, do you enjoy Spain?
No, I think it's one of my worst track, and Bahrain Pro is probably the best, so don't expect anything like today.
Well, we'll see if you can pull through with that. Mike, I presume you've tried that. It's York to the group, but I'm guessing he's not going to be showing up for us tonight.
No, I've sent him an invite. I messaged him in Discord as well. No response. So unfortunately, we won't be able to get our P3 man in tonight from the looks of it.
Okay, well, I think that's going to wrap things up then. For it was another thriller of a race here at Bahrain. Absolute stunner. That's 2 rounds done, but we still have a lot of the season ahead of us. So thank you all very much for tuning in tonight. And so I think with pretty much everything said and done then, of course, please tune in for the next round here at next time at Spain. Of course, that second round is, or that third round, I should say, coming to you as always on Thursdays at 8 PM UK time. Please tune in for that. And yeah, so I think with just about everything said and done for tonight, I've been Daniel Hogarth, he's been Michael Evans alongside me, and until next time, we'll see you later.
Feeling. I feel so lightweight when I think back to those days. But then we went our own ways. I'm thinking about what needs to change. That we could turn back the page and live like our favorite fairy tales. So a love so freeing, but what of our fantasies? Digging up treasures and sailing across the sea. These are our childhood dreams. It's how we used to be when we were kings and queens in our childhood dreams. Oh, 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 oh. Our childhood dreams. Our childhood dreams, it's how it used to be when we were kings and queens in our childhood dreams.
Every weekend is the same. I'm the one you try to claim. Yeah, I already know about your game, but I'm not the one. Is it around? Let me play. Call me up with no shame. All your words sound the same. Yeah, I already know about your game, but I'm not the one. Is it around and be played? If you come around just to play me, don't bother, cause you ain't overdue it. Don't even try to convince me much, I know I. And tonight, I'm not the one to be blamed, 'cause I ain't the one who wins games. Yeah, I already know about your stupid games. But come around, come around. If you come around just to play me, don't bother, 'cause you ain't overdue. Don't even try to convince me. Don't bother, 'cause now I see you through. To come over, I wish that you would come and give me something to prove. Won't you pull me closer? I think that I'm obsessed with everything that you do. I'm waiting, trying to be patient. You look like a painting. It's so frustrating. I hate it, yeah. I probably shouldn't say this. I probably should erase it. I probably shouldn't say this. I wanna be with you, if that's the last thing that I could do. I wanna be with you, if that's the last thing that I could do. Call me a fan, I'm living, give me your hand, I'm in it, yeah. I wanna be with you, if that's the last thing that I could do. Sometimes I get nervous, but too good to believe. I don't know how it happened, but baby, I'm ecstatic that you're sticking with me. I'm waiting, trying to be patient. You look like a painting. It's so frustrating. I hate it, yeah. I probably shouldn't say this. I probably should erase it. I probably shouldn't say this. I wanna be with you, if that's the last thing that I could do. I wanna be with you, if that's the last thing that I could do. Call me a fan, I'm living, give me your hand, I'm in it, yeah. I wanna be with you, if that's the last thing that I could do.
Take a seat, you cannot stand it. All I know, the flow harder than a Scotch bunny. Don't try studying me, you cannot manage. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.